further ado, Chief Fandle.
Thank you. Good morning. Over the past 3 months, Slidell Police Department, in conjunction with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and Homeland Security Investigations, worked together in a joint operation deemed Operation Heatwave. We didn't know at the time when we named that how appropriate that name would be. The summer operation was led by the Slidell Police Department's Narcotics Division, whose primary focus was to combat illegal drugs and violent crime within the city of Slidell. Many of the investigations extended way beyond the borders of our city, which led us to partner with the FBI, DEA, and HSI. These agencies provided a tremendous amount of support and resources to help us make this operation successful. Here are just some of the cases that were made, the big cases. The largest fentanyl seizure in St. Tammany's history, 11.5 kilos of fentanyl with an estimated street value of $300,000. This arrest led to a federal indictment. 2 arrests of regional drug suppliers who were selling large amounts of fentanyl and heroin. These 2 individuals were responsible for distributing fentanyl daily to the people of the North Shore and the New Orleans metro area. Second-degree murder indictment of a fentanyl dealer, Rodney Reynolds, 44 years old, of Slidell. 19 guns were taken out of the hands of criminals, most of which were stolen and used in violent crimes. Some of them were semi-automatic weapons that have been turned into fully automatic weapons by the use of a Glock switch. 131 total arrests, a total of 12 kilos, or think about this, 26 pounds of fentanyl were seized, along with 105 grams of cocaine, 1,800 MDMA pills, recovery of 3 stolen vehicles, over $43,000 in U.S. currency was seized. 2 vehicles were seized, one being a Maserati. Throughout the operation, Slidell Police Traffic Division and newly formed Crime Suppression Unit were instrumental with assisting in the takedown of several street-level narcotics dealers here in Slidell. All of this directly correlates to violent crime, which consists of things like robberies, carjackings, and even murders. Operation Heatwave has undoubtedly made a direct impact on lowering violent crime in the city of Slidell and the St. Tammany Parish and the entire New Orleans metro area. Removing this poison from our streets and taking these weapons away from the criminals has made our community a safer place to live. But we can't stop here. St. Tammany is located at the intersection of 3 major interstate intersections, and 25 miles north of the city of New Orleans. Major drug traffickers are attempting to set up shop here in our community because they feel safe and they have easy access to New Orleans and the surrounding areas to distribute their narcotics. Slidell is the largest city in St. Tammany Parish, and we don't have the resources available to fight this on our own. It's because of the partners standing at this podium that we were able to investigate and successfully make cases against these individuals. I want to personally thank every one of y'all for providing the resources needed to take care of this operation. We stand together to make this statement. If you're here thinking about, or even thinking about coming here, know this: we're coming for you. Slidell's finest and our partners with the FBI, DEA, and Homeland Security are committed to take you off our streets. You're killing our citizens, and it's going to stop. Thank you. I'll take any questions. I think everybody here is willing.
There's a couple of federal agents would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Chief. Homeland Security Investigations, the largest investigative arm for the Department of Homeland Security. Each and every day, we continue to battle the scourge of illicit narcotics and weapons that are crossing our borders. We look at it from an international perspective, but we also have to look at it from a domestic perspective. These transnational criminal organizations are flooding our streets, our borders, with these drugs and these narcotics that kill our children, our brothers, our sisters. It has to stop. Looking at our partnerships with Chief Fandel, with our federal and state partners, this is how we attack this idea. This is how we attack this scourge. We do a lot of great work individually, but the largest successes that we are able to achieve is when we partner. We share our resources, we share our intelligence. These transnational criminal organizations are operating almost with impunity across the country. It doesn't stop at the state lines, it doesn't stop at the city lines. But together, through what we're doing here, this is just a little bit of what we're going to continue to achieve, working together to make these streets safer for all of us. Thank you.
We'll take any questions that you might have.
So the individuals who were arrested, are they from this area, or are they individuals who were from outside of the Slidell area here operating?
The two large cases that I mentioned, they were actually living in this area.
Have you all linked, I don't know if you all can say this, but have you all linked any of this fentanyl to fatal overdoses in the parish?
We have. We've actually indicted one on state charges for murder, second-degree murder, for a fentanyl overdose.
Chief, can you talk about the form that the fentanyl's in? I know it comes in fake pills that look like prescription pills over TikTok. I know it's laced in marijuana and mixed with cocaine and opioids. What form are you seeing it in mostly?
You've mentioned just about every form there is. I'll let DEA agent or Homeland Security elaborate on some of the different forms y'all seeing.
Well, throughout, I mean, right now, that's the most dangerous part of it. You know, we would see it in pills, we would see it in powdered form, but part of the issue is when you have kids that are suspecting that they're just going to have marijuana, which to them it seems like it's no big deal. They don't know that it can be laced in anything, in marijuana, in MDMA, in ecstasy, whatever it is, right? These narcotics, these criminal organizations are lacing all of these drugs in order to continue to get the individuals hooked. And they keep them coming back, and that continues their profit. And that's what's so dangerous about it. You don't know.
Bottom line, if you're buying any kind of narcotics on the street, there's a chance, a high likelihood, it's laced with fentanyl these days.
I have to ask the DEA, y'all have spoken before how we're one of the top 9 cities on the distribution hub for big cities where it comes across the border. That's now more open. It comes from Houston over on I-12, I-10, and then gets distributed from here. Can you elaborate on, can the DEA elaborate on that pathway? And do we know this fentanyl originates in China?
Just not really going to go into details, but I will say that these partnerships that we have with our local and federal partners, we're able to combat the distribution of these drugs that are killing people. So I won't get into details on that, but I do appreciate this opportunity, Chief, and all of our partners here to be here to combat this problem.
Chief, can you talk about just the importance of this operation? Obviously, you decided to do this because there was a real problem here. And what prompted you to say we need to do this? And then at some point, did you then know that you needed to involve federal and state partners in this effort? And at what point was that?
We're seeing record numbers of overdoses, especially with fentanyl. We're seeing deaths, at least one a week, sometimes more. Just seeing that, we know we had to combat this. We got to start taking the fentanyl off the streets, and we can't do it alone. We don't, Slidell may be the largest city in St. Tammany Parish, but we don't have the resources to do this alone. And we reached out to the FBI, DEA, Homeland Security, and all the local and state agencies around here, and we're willing to work with them together to bring this to a stop. It's got to stop.
For the FBI, DEA guys, so it's interesting you talk about staffing or resource and all, because that's what I was going to ask you. Even for the national agencies, are you almost to the point like you need these guys now, all the local PDs and sheriff's offices as much to do this? I mean, does it stretch your manpower that much?
Well, I mean, none of us have the resources to handle this alone. And we each of the agencies, each of the departments bring a specific knowledge, bring specific intelligence. Everyone has a piece of that puzzle. And the only way that we actually get to put all those pieces together is by real time co-locating, sharing that active intelligence, sharing that information, bringing all of our analytical powers together. So that way we're really painting a bigger picture, and so that way we can bring consequence to these transnational organizations, whether it's through a federal indictment or a state indictment, whatever the most effective means of actually getting prosecution and getting justice. That's what we're all doing here today.
Are you seeing a lot of this drugs that's coming in? Are we seeing, especially say in New Orleans, or I don't know, Randy, maybe it sounds like in Slidell too, are we actually seeing people coming in and setting up here, or are they more supplying drug dealers that were already here?
I think we're starting to see people that are actually coming into Slidell and coming in these smaller communities trying to set up shop. It's these large seizures like this. During the investigations, we're finding out that they do have a nexus to the border. You know, obviously coming out of China, that China's sending the precursors into Mexico, and we're seeing an infiltration of these drugs coming from the border. And it's common to see some of these smaller suburban areas setting up shop, people setting up shop in these smaller areas right outside of your large metropolitan areas.
Chief, you mentioned that guns were stolen. Can you elaborate, please? Are these guns that were bought legally, that someone left in a car, or their home was broken into, or how are these guns mostly stolen?
There's no way to tell exactly how, you know, what amounts are coming from burglaries, what amounts are coming from cars. I can tell you this, the burglars are looking for cars that they can get into and find weapons. So please don't keep your weapons in your car. These guns are coming from houses, cars, any way they can get their hands on them, that's where they're getting them. And like I said, one of our biggest problems right now is seeing the transition from the Glocks, using the Glock switch, turning them into fully automatic weapons.
When you had mentioned murder earlier, was that the fatal overdose, or was that something separate?
That was the one of the fatal overdoses that we've had.
Okay, and so far you all know of one?
That is the one that's been indicted.
Okay.
Chief, you said we're not going to stop, I think is the comment you made. Does Operation Heatwave continue, or do you feel like you guys, made a lot of leeway? What happens from here?
We're going to continue making cases and taking the narcotics off the street.
Can you give a time frame for this operation?
It was over approximately 3 months, the last 3 months, Operation Heatwave over the summer.
Chief, the DEA has said in the past that when drugs rise, types of violent crimes rise too. Can you talk about what you've seen? Have you seen a rise in violent crime because of the rise in the drugs?
I think you're seeing that across the country. We're fortunate here. We have a very active, proactive police department, and the violent crime inside the city limits of Slidell is not high. So it really depends on how proactive your agencies are. But by taking this operation and putting these people in jail, we definitely had an impact on violent crime across this entire metro area.
Is this a situation where really you need to now try to get residents even to become more of like calling you more tips and really watching and all, like you say, you're getting operations set up almost anywhere.
Absolutely.
We need more help like that.
Yeah, we are always in conversation with our community. If you see something, say something. There's ways to make anonymous tips. So please, if you have some information that you can share with us, we'll take it.
Will you announce that, please, how people can make anonymous tips?
Crime Stoppers, everybody here is very familiar with Crime Stoppers. That's the best way to make an anonymous tip. Is that it?
I think there was a couple reporters want to do breakout sessions, more than welcome to do so. I guess this will conclude the formal press conference, and we'll do breakouts from here.
Thank you.
Hey, Joey, time's